I've gone through your DAT and your other records in school. In fact, we've been going through all of the records in school for the past 3.5 weeks now. And I've come to the very definite and firm conclusion that you would be perfectly suited for manual labor.
To manual labor?
Yes.
That's all, just manual labor?
Manual labor.
See, I never thought I was suited for manual labor. I mean, no intelligence, just manual labor. What he said to me? He says, I went through all your records in high school. He just, you know what you can do for a living? I said, what? You're going to be manual labor. Bricklayer.
Dude, it's incredible. It really is incredible. It's Alan Funn's Candid Camera for those people at home. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
A crazy lifespan. So that was what, 50 years, 60 plus?
That was in the early mid 60s, I guess, right? He's born in 1947. I mean, so he's like a junior or senior in high school, and that one in New Jersey. Dude, that is insane. That whole look is insane. Wow.
Manual labor.
Wow, that's the only thing he could have. I mean, I'll just say this: he never worked a day in his life. Never did a day of manual labor in his life. I guarantee you. His father was a what do you call it when you're a caterer of big events? You know, he does catering, I guess, of events, like an event
coordinator.
No. They brought in the food to weddings or whatever.
Oh, then a caterer, yeah.
But it's some other kind of caterer, like an event thing with catering. But it's a type of catering, yeah. His mother did like community theater, I think. But he did have this weird sister. He never talked about his older sister who was in the Unification Church or Scientology, which she was in a cult. She might have been in both of them, but he never discussed any of them. He had a brother, and then he had the sister. Never talked about them.
Okay, we're of course talking about Richard Lewis. In case people didn't recognize,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah,
this would be Richard Lewis here in the middle with this.
That's the late Wayne Kramer. It's the Wayne Kramer passed away 2 weeks ago. Now I'm the only one left, Eric. I mean, it's like Richard's gone, and now Wayne's gone, and that's me on the right there. I think it's my birthday here in Hollywood in my apartment on Fuller. Runyon Canyon here in Hollywood a number of years ago. But yeah, wow, man, that's such a prescient photo. It's Richard obviously mugging. He would mug for any camera. I remember being at Dodger Stadium with him one time with his wife, Joyce Lipinski. Richard's real name is Richard Lipchansky. So when I was with the two of them, I'd go, Miss Lipinski, Mr. Lipchansky, Lipinski. It was the two funniest names I've ever heard. She didn't change her name, but he did. She had come from the record business. Joyce, a doll of a woman. Just the other day, I texted him saying that your wife should have gotten the Nobel Prize in relationship for putting up with you, Richard. I mean, Sunday night, I texted him because he was on Curb.
Wow. For
the first time. It was obviously recorded in November, but he was on Curb for the first time this season. And, I texted him afterwards, great turn, very funny. It was a bit that him and Larry had done where they're gone golfing. And he said to Larry that he's leaving him in his will. How prescient was that? And then the argument ensues with Larry saying, I don't want to be in your stupid will. And they're fighting back and forth, about being in the will. It was a classic Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry and Richard moment. But Richard and I had the same routine that we did for years. He wanted me to do the eulogy at his funeral. And it was a running gag that we had about me writing the eulogy and presenting it. And now he's passed away, just 2 days ago. I mean, it's just shocking. But absolutely brilliant, neurotic comic from the old school. I mean, just absolutely brilliant.
I'm glad that he did get one episode of Curb, though. So,
dude, what a way to go!
Season,
what a way to go! I mean, discussing his will. and arguing with Larry. I mean, him and Larry had I think they were born about 4 days apart, the exact same age, went to summer camp together, knew each other from childhood. They had a blood pact that they made when they were starting out in show business as stand-ups, that if anyone would help anyone who was in need of money, if the other one had the money at some point in their career, they would help them out. Then they had a blood pact on this thing. And when Anything But Love was canceled with Richard Lewis and Jamie Lee Curtis, he called up Larry to invoke the pact. And he said, it didn't go into syndication and I really need some money to cover my nut. So Larry goes, of course, we made the pact, Richard. He says, no problem. He goes, what do you need? He goes, I need $1.3 million. And he goes, what? He goes, what's that, a problem? You've got Seinfeld money. He goes, I need $1.3 million. So Larry says, all right, let me just talk to my wife. It shouldn't be a problem. Well, his wife puts the kibosh on it. He comes back, tells Richard it's a no-go. Richard doesn't speak to him for 10 years because of that thing, until he gets the call to join Curb season 1, which I guess was 11 years ago. And he goes, for the first year, he does it on scale, SAG minimum. And the second year, he calls me up and he says, I'm going to demand a raise. I go, Richard, don't start trouble. You just got back with him. Don't start trouble. Have your agent do it. And he goes, no, I got to confront him. I can't. So I try to talk him out of it. He goes to the set, 2 minutes on the set, season 2, episode 1, or whatever, which one he's in. He gets into a fight with Larry David and storms off. So then it starts up again, the feud. You can't make this up. But I mean, Richard had so many weird comedy things that he did. Like, one of the things he did was these phony log lines for TV Guide, where you ever see the TV Guide where it has a movie and that brief description?
Yeah,
but it's so tiny. It's like TV Guide-ese that only they write in their own lingo, like Variety magazine writes in Variety lingo. TV Guide had log lines from famous or whatever movie, a description, and they try to keep it as short as possible for space. Richard, over the years, rewrote them and did his own versions of them. And my favorite one, I don't remember the rest, but the one I remember for Streetcar Named Desire, the classic Marlon Brando film, was simply, a visitor throws off Stanley's bowling game. And I never forgot that. It was one of the great log lines of all time. But I didn't see Richard until he played Carnegie Hall, I think, in 1989. This is poster he gave me from the event. If you zoom in, you can see what he wrote in the corner. It doesn't really matter. It's a personal thing between me and him. But whoa.
I'm zooming, but
whoa, Hunley with the zoom. Go. Whoa.
Hey.
Wow, I don't remember what it says. If I ever
needed a Joe Angus.
Oh, Joe Ansis. Yeah, Joe Ansis was like, we discussed Joe Ansis in the Rodney Dangerfield episode. He was Rodney's best friend. He was supposedly the funniest guy in New York who never performed as a stand-up. That's who it is referring to as Joe Ansis there. Right, and it continues. You're the guy. You are truly one of the most brilliant, authentic minds I have ever known. Wow. And I was what does it say? I have to undersold out. It says something. What does it say? I have you with a something or other. Oh, I love you like a brother. And we were. I mean, he was really like an older brother to me in a lot of ways. I mean, he was discovered by David Brenner, of course, in Catch a Rising Star and clubs in New York. But the amount of riffing that me and him did, I mean, just legendary. This was at Carnegie Hall in New York. This was the first time I ever saw him. I didn't even know him. Came out on stage. There was a grand piano out there, and he had was a roll of printed paper where he did all his notes, and he would go over to the piano and he would unfurl the roll of paper that went on for miles, and he would use it to reference wherever the hell he was in his riffing. And the paper would just be going onto the floor. It was one long, like, bounty roll of paper. And I remember going into the men's room in Carnegie Hall. This is just a side story to Richard Lewis. In the men's room was Doc Severinsen, the trumpet player and band leader for The Tonight Show. And Doc Severinsen was wearing, like he always did, like some sequined 1 or 2 piece suit with diamonds on it and sequins glued onto it, thousands of them. And he was drunk and out of his mind, urinating on a man's leg. That was the same night. I always remember telling Richard about that. He gets a big crack out of it. The other thing he used to get a crack out of was the fact that my mother was in the Lords of Flatbush, the Street Gang. And he would always say the movie or the Street Gang. And I would just go the Street Gang. We'd crack up laughing. And another one we used to do was a phony bungalow colony where they would get on the PA and they used to announce telephone calls from the city to the people who were there. They'd go, Blanche, it's your husband, bungalow 12. And you'd go up to this phone booth and pick up the phone. But I used to do this takeoff on it that simply said telephone for Hitler, telephone. And he would just start crying. And I could say it anywhere at any time. And he would start cracking up. And the guy, let me tell you something. One time he was in his kitchen, some beehive had broken on the window on the outside, and the bees had flown into his kitchen and were stinging him. And he's trying to call like a beekeeper on the phone or something. And the phone rings and it's the legendary Albert Brooks. And he says, I can't talk to you now. I'm getting stung by thousands of bees. So Albert Brooks says, throw a gallon of honey on the roof and meet me at Greenblatt's in 20 minutes. One of the great show business lines of all time. And Eric, we used to have lunch, me and him, at Greenblatt's, which is right next to the Comedy Store on Sunset, a Jewish deli upstairs. And he had all kinds of food disorders and food issues, anorexia, side things that nobody knew about. But
Wow.
He would invite me over his house and he'd order a pizza to watch you eat the pizza. No, he was like a peeping Tom food purveyor of watching other people eat. I mean, it was really creepy what he did. And dude, it was just, he had so many food issues. It was so insane. Anyway, so I used to go to Dodger Stadium with him. I go to pick him up one night. And of course, like usual, I'm wearing my full Dodger uniform with my jersey with my own name on the back. And he opens the door and he used to have rosacea. So he opened the door and he had cream on his face and 1,000 pins in it for like, a Japanese treatment of rosacea on his face, looking like Hellraiser. And he says, let me get these off so I can go to the game with you. He comes out. He's wearing like what he always wore, completely black shoulder pads, black balloon pants like MC Hammer. And he looks at me, he goes, I can't go to the game with you looking like that. And I go, me? Look what you're wearing, you piece of crap. And he gets in the car and there's 2 of us. Now he's dressed like Batman with his black cape and I'm wearing my Dodger uniform. We go to the game and we're sitting there and he can't sit still. He has to go around and get the accolades of the fans. I mean, just because of his own peccadillo. So he says, I want to go up and say hello to Vin Scully in the booth, who was a Dodger announcer, legendary Dodger announcer. He said, I met him a bunch of times. We're good friends. I go, good luck. He never lets anybody in the booth. That's like his thing. He goes, no, he'll let me in the booth. He's gone for half an hour. We're in the 3rd inning of the game. He comes back and he goes, goddamn anti-Semite wouldn't let me in. And then he just starts cracking jokes in the section that we're in for 9 innings. But dude, the stories of Richard Lewis could go on forever. But I'll tell you this one. I was with him and Joyce one time at the game. And they have a kiss cam that goes around where you kiss the girl or guy who's with you as a couple. They're able to look at the stadium beforehand, the inning before, and see who are couples. So they see Joyce and Richard, his wife. And the kiss cam focuses on them and she like puckers up to get kissed, but he, because the camera's on him and he sees himself on Jumbotron, starts mugging for the camera. Well, 52,000 Dodger fans started booing him. I've never seen that in my life, other than for Barry Bonds from the Giants. And his wife turns around to me and she says, Mark, what is wrong with him? And I just started cracking up. I mean, the stories of the 2 of them, but he told us some of these, I don't even know if they're jokes or not. He gets in the car with his parents as a kid to go to San Francisco from New Jersey. And they're sitting in the front seat in the station wagon about to drive across the country. And his father goes, what's that goddamn jangling? And his mother's got something in her hand. She goes, I have the toll ready for the Golden Gate Bridge, honey. And I mean, just absolutely hysterical jokes. But My favorite one, he was in group therapy for so long, and he'd go on the road, and the group therapy would continue, and he had the therapist put him on the phone, and he'd have the phone on the coffee table while the group therapy was going on while he was on the road, Eric. Right?
Wow.
And one girl in the group therapy was crying, and Richard said, "Can you cry closer to the phone? I can't hear you."
Jesus. Well, and thank you, YouTube, by the way. We got demonetized in 18 minutes while you're telling a memorial about a world famous comedian.
Yes.
Thank you, YouTube.
Thank you. Bravo.
So
Bravo.
We are officially yellow.
Thank you.
I checked that, and I've already submitted for the review, but
after further review, number 23, Eric Hunley, technical foul.
Yes, you know what? I guess we should just hit the flag so we have a little marker in there everybody can see. So the people are scanning through.
Dude, I can't even do a memorial to my dead friend, for Christ's sakes, with this goddamn channel. Oh, here's a great book, by the way. This is Richard Lewis's autobiography. I strongly recommend it. The Other Great Depression. Fantastic book by Richard, if you're interested in that topic. I had written a review. Oh, I know what it was. It was Mort Saul's 80th birthday. And Richard, every known comic on the earth who was alive was at Royce Hall at UCLA. And Richard destroyed the place. He dominated the earth that night. And I wrote this incredible review, which he had on his website since that time with a quote by me from a publication I wrote it for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He dominated the earth, and everybody was there that night, and he destroyed the planet. One of the greatest nights of Richard Lewis's life, by my estimation, as a fan.
That's perfect. I wanted to open with I mean, it's sad, obviously, that he passed, but, something kind of more uplifting, a person who's a great influence to you, things like that. So now we can move into our normal weekly roundup of chicanery and ridiculousness. And we'll start with, here's a very short one, and I brought it up at the legal panel earlier. You have another idiot judge, this time out of Illinois. And she has determined that Trump cannot be on the primary ballot. Now, hold on. This obviously would be a judge who is a circuit judge or, state level judge, maybe, Superior Court judge, right? No. She presides over minor traffic violations and Class A misdemeanor matters. So Donald Trump is being kept off the ballot, or attempted to, by a freaking traffic court judge, which shows how ludicrous the entire system is. And I was talking to the lawyers earlier, and they were saying, yeah, this is just revealing how you have these little petty tyrants who think they get this power. And I mean, now think about this. The ex-president of the United States, the number one contender for the president of the United States, and it's a traffic court judge. It makes the whole system look completely stupid and perverse.
Well, like I said the other day on Twitter, I mean, the day Biden steps out of the office, every 25 red state attorney generals should indict him for various things. Just get it on. I mean, if this holds, I mean, this is now, as you haven't mentioned yet, but it's going to go to the Supreme Court about presidential immunity, Eric, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, the Supreme Court is going to hear that. And by the way, the Supreme Court is also going to hear the Colorado case, which is precedent to whatever she's doing. So her whole bullshit routine is just a virtue signal. I mean, there's nothing that she is going to get out of it whatsoever.
No husband, no children, known lesbian, by the way.
Probably.
No, I'm telling you of my own research on her.
Oh, okay, all right.
My own private research.
That works for me. And let's see, we've got a guest with us today, and this is going to be talking about the Fani Willis situation. So we've got some text.
Do we say Fani?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's funny.
That's why we get demonetized, because you keep using the wrong.
It's not Britain. It's more offensive in Britain to say Fani than it is here.
Well, what's the deal? Is it Kamala or Kamala? Or Kamala? Wait, I'm a complete
Kamala, I think.
Okay, because
I don't know.
She has called herself Kamala.
But she, yes.
Right.
I always love that too. Where you can find previous records where they call themselves another name, whatever it is. But to lead into it, I saw this earlier from my friends at the behavior panel. Chase Hughes breaking down a little bit of her testimony. Let me cue this up.
Okay.
And,
all right. This is exciting.
well, I just think it sums up.
When she's asked about getting the money from the ATM.
So when you got cash to pay him back on these trips, would you go to the ATM? No, lady.
You're going to see a huge postural adjustment, leaning to her right. Forehead is relaxed until she looks up and makes eye contact. This eyebrow flash behavior is so programmed into us that I've got a 2-month-old baby here, and she does this to get approval. Then we see lip licking, which is we associate with stress. It's a hygienic gesture. Then we see eye closure or eye blocking during the denial at the precise moment she makes a denial. And there's some serious discomfort. The hand under her chin, then to the front of the chin, then to the face. Multiple adjustments.
Wow.
2
Wow.
seconds. Then
Look at that. Go,
mouth
lady.
And the lips when answering the question. In my opinion, this is one of the largest clusters of behavior that might indicate deception that we've ever covered here.
Whoa.
I saw that and I thought that is the perfect thing to lead in and talk to with Phil Holloway. Welcome, Phil.
Welcome, Phil.
Hey, happy to be here.
bro?
How's everybody?
Very good.
All right. Now, Phil is going to help us to kind of keep track of what's going on with Fani, because I have to confess, I watched it a couple of weeks ago when it was going down, and her testimony, I really listened to it. So statement analysis wise, I was like, this is if somebody was to cover her testimony with statement analysis, it would be a 10-hour video, because they'd be stopping every 10 seconds on, that's deceptive, and this is why. But Phil got actual physical evidence presented that directly contradicts statements made by her and Nathan Wade. So we could talk about body language all day and statement analysis, but boy, physical evidence is always a good thing. And Phil here is the one who provided these texts to Megyn Kelly. Yes, day before yesterday.
Yeah, it's like drinking from a fire hose. That's hard for me to figure out what day it is, but that's right.
Okay. Phil, tell the audience who you are in case they don't know who you are.
So I'm Phil Holloway. I'm a lawyer in the Metro Atlanta area. In fact, in Cobb County, which is next door to Fulton County, where all this is going on. But interestingly enough, a lot of the players involved in this are people that have offices and a big presence in Cobb County as well. And and lawyers around here, we all hit all the courthouses, so it's a relatively small legal community, at least in terms of criminal law. And so I know a lot of these folks personally, and obviously when we found out that this was going to be the case of the century and it was going to be right here in our backyard, most people started paying very, very close attention, myself included. And then lo and behold, people that I know start getting hired by this defendant or that defendant, and suddenly it all becomes real or almost surreal. But to be honest with you, I've always had my concerns about, prosecuting the head of the opposing party, right? When you're talking about bringing a political prosecution or a criminal prosecution that looks like a political prosecution for, improper reasons. And this is not about Donald Trump, regardless of how anybody feels about Trump. This is about a fair system. You've got to have a fair system. And if you don't have a fair system, you can't even get to the issue of guilt or innocence, because you've got to have due process, fundamental fairness. That's what this is all about. But I started as a prosecutor in the metropolitan Atlanta area in Cobb County. So I've been on that side. I've been in private practice now since 2003. And I'm kind of really, really almost a little bit embarrassed to see what's happening in the legal community in my town.
I would be.
This is like the days of our lives.
It is a soap opera, because the way you described it earlier, everybody knows everybody, and this is like a cast. So this could be a season of a show when you have Nathan Wade, who's having sex with the main prosecutor, and this is going on. What brought you into this current situation?
Can you be more specific? Which situation are we referring to? Because I've been dealing with. I mean, I have a big media presence. I go on national TV, local radio, national radio. I'm a legal analyst for a news station here, and so I've been talking about this in a lot of different contexts. But here lately, it's really gotten off the chain. And honestly, it's one of the more interesting criminal cases that I've dealt with. And I'm glad I'm glad that I'm in the press box calling the plays versus on the field. These lawyers are doing a great job, but I'd rather be talking about it, to be honest with you.
Hold on, you're talking about the case against Trump or this?
Yeah, this particular case.
The case, not this hearing. You're talking about the overall case.
Yeah, the overall case, and in this hearing too. These lawyers have their work cut out for them. Like I said, I like my role being on the outside looking in, but it sure is fascinating.
But you're in the loop, Phil. Apparently, they're texting you, and you're able to understand what people.
I know a lot of the players. I know a lot of the lawyers. I know some of the defendants, for that matter, because there's local attorneys that are caught up in this, and local political types that are caught up in it. So, you can't really, in my position as a lawyer in the metropolitan Atlanta area, been here, I've been practicing law almost 30 years, been here since 2000. So it's 24 years. I know a lot of these folks, and I've even gotten to know some of the lawyers that are from out of state that are participating in this. And so, we hear things. And so it's interesting to sort of see what's on the other side of the stage door, right? Behind the curtains. A lot of us in the legal community have kind of known that, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade were kind of an item. And so when I first learned that he was like the lead special prosecutor, it's like, it's a head scratcher here. What's this all about? It just kind of didn't make sense. And now it's all starting to come together. This is nothing I had personal knowledge of, but it's one of those kind of, one of the rumors that you hear that you figure it's probably true, but you don't really pay much attention to it. Who do I care who's sleeping with who? But now we see how it really makes a difference, right? And so here we are.
Okay, and now you know most of the lawyers. Like, I know you've worked with Ashley Merchant, Nathan Wade. The only one you don't personally know is Fani, right?
I don't know her, but I do. Here's what I can tell you about this. In the interest of full disclosure, we had a really bad DA before Fani Willis.
Is that possible?
That's why I'm laughing.
Well, it's like a Chicago mayor.
Well, he was bad. Yeah. Well, sometimes, the devil versus the devil you don't know. Well, I had a yard sign. I live in Fulton County, and I put a yard sign out for Fani Willis, and she was the devil I didn't know at the time. Because we all were looking for an opportunity to get rid of the other guy. And he was out here prosecuting. He was prosecuting cops during the riots of the Summer of Love in 2020, because he was he had an election coming up, a contested election, and he was prosecuting police officers for doing their job. And that pissed me off. I come from a law enforcement background, and I still keep my certification as a peace officer in Georgia. Even though I do criminal defense work, it doesn't mean that I like crime. And it really, really bugs me when people like him start going after cops for political reasons. So that's why I put a Fani Willis yard sign up, because I wanted to get rid of that guy. But here we are. Fast forward to today. I don't like what she's doing here in this situation any better. This is just as wrong. And hopefully the judge is going to see that these shenanigans are just inappropriate, and hopefully she's going to be gone from the case.
So that's why she ran as a moderate, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She did. She ran on the platform of we're not gonna have that. We're not gonna be prosecuting cops. We're gonna be honest. We're gonna have an ethical administration. We're gonna clean house. And all those things sounded great to me, because we got to get rid of this other guy. He's really, really, really bad. And so it's just when you got. And they're both Democrats. I actually voted in a Democrat primary so that I could vote for her, because I wanted to get rid of him that badly.
Wow.
Well, devil,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I've got an unusual guy here. This guy Gascon, who is from Cuba, is the DA that we have here in LA. And we had Jackie Lacey, who is a Christian black woman who was putting people in jail left and right, and that wasn't good enough. And now we got a Marxist DA out of Cuba. So
to let him out.
Yeah, to let them out. Let them out.
Make crime legal.
So where is this going, Phil? Where is
All
this ruling going to go, in your
Yes.
humble opinion?
All right, so we saw the closing arguments today. So here's what this is all about. If I can just set it up, you've got this situation. I'll call it a scheme where Willis has hired her boyfriend, her paramour, admitted paramour. She's steering money to him, lots of it too, in a no bid contract. She's steering it to Nathan Wade, who's never prosecuted a felony in his life. And she's paying him way more than the line prosecutors who are full-time criminal lawyers, good ones who work for her on the county payroll. She's bringing in an outside. He runs a criminal defense and personal injury office, but he's got this contract to prosecute Trump. And so he's one of a handful. And this arrangement in and of itself is so bizarre, but we don't have time to talk about all of that. So she's steering this no bid contract to her boyfriend, and they're keeping it on the down low. They're taking all these trips. He's paying for everything. And so the claim is that creates a conflict of interest because she, as the district attorney now, has a financial interest in the mere existence of the case. And every time they go to court, he's billing by the hour. Clock's ticking, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And as long as and now they say their relationship is over, and I believe it probably is, certainly by now. But back in the good old days when they were still knocking the boots, she was benefiting by every dollar he was being paid. That was the claim. And so a prosecutor cannot have a financial interest in a case. It just can't happen. But now we're going in a different kind of direction. That issue is still there. Now we've got the thing where, well, they claim that it didn't start until 2022, long after he was appointed special prosecutor. Well, we have evidence now that is not the case. We've had direct evidence from one of her former employees and besties came to court and says, no, they were hugging and kissing all over each other in 2019. And so we've got direct testimony from somebody who knows them. Robin Yurdy's her name. We've got cell phone data now that shows that his phone was traveling from his home, not far from where I'm sitting now, all the way down to Hapeville, Georgia, down near the Atlanta airport, to the condo that actually was owned by this Robin Yurdy, who's testified about the affair. Wow. And now we have text messages between Ashley Merchant, who is the lawyer for defendant Michael Roman, Trump co-defendant. She's texting with this guy named Terrence Bradley, who was the former law partner, friend, and for a while, the divorce lawyer representing Nathan Wade, who's Fani Willis's boyfriend. If you need to draw a chart, I can understand.
Oh, that's the sweaty guy, right? Who testified last week, sweating.
Didn't know if he ever took her to a cabin and all that. Yeah, that's the
right.
Yep. And so, they had a falling out for reasons that it might have been, according to the prosecutors, because some employee of that firm accused Bradley of a sexual assault, and maybe it wasn't. Who knows? But they had some kind of a falling out. And so fast forward to like last fall, Terrence Bradley is texting and talking with Ashley Merchant, representing Michael Roman, because she's found out about the affair. She's reaching out to Bradley saying, hey, can you help me figure out what the deal is with this affair? And so there's this long text thread, which you have, Eric, and I think you probably showed some of it. It shows a collaborative effort between these lawyers, and he's helping her. He helps her identify this Robin Yurdy lady, who is the one that provided direct testimony about the affair starting as early as 2019. But in his text messages, he says things like, you need to subpoena her original security detail from 2020. Those guys know about the affair. And he says in no uncertain terms that he knows that they started carrying on as a couple when because Willis had been an assistant prosecutor. She left to go get herself ready to run against her former boss that she beat. And so he says that he knows in no uncertain terms that they were having an affair when she first left the district attorney's office. So it goes back to like 2018 or 2019, according to those text messages. So now we got a situation where Willis has taken the stand. She busts in there like a wildcat, and she's, mad as a wet hen. She wants to testify. She wants to call Ashley Merchant a liar. And she's literally just coming apart at the seams to tell everybody how much she loves to spend cash. And then you've got,
I don't think I've ever heard the word cash mentioned as much in testimony in my life.
Well,
But,
you know, if it were like a money laundering case or something like that, you know,
or normal RICO.
or a drug case, or
I mean, yeah, and you know, and before we hit, well, she says, well, she was in private practice for a while. She says she took some of that cash from her campaign money. She says she goes to the grocery store and gets a little cash back with her debit card. You got to get a lot of $20 and $50 cash backs to come up with 6 months worth of cash in reserve, which is what she said she liked.
She also said it was a black thing. Am
Yeah.
I correct? Did she say it was a
No,
black
she
thing?
said her father said, which, by the way,
well, her father said it too.
Right. And by the way, with him having his background, I absolutely believe her father told her.
Oh, the Black
Yeah,
Panther.
yeah, he's a Black Panther. Absolutely.
He's from out here in LA.
Now,
yes. Yeah.
Phil, you sent me something earlier today. I don't know if you've already revealed it to the public, but as a voicemail.
Well,
Can we
it's out in the
introduce it?
public domain, and I had somebody sent me a copy, and I sent it to you. But yeah, it's out in the public domain.
Right on.
Okay. So here, I'm just going to play it real quick to get a bit of flavor.
Well, before you do that, can we set it up?
Yeah, set it
Yeah,
up. What are you
perfect.
talking?
Please.
What is it? What
Yeah.
is it?
So you got Terrence Bradley is the witness he's the person in the text messages with Ashley Merchant. He was billed by her as being the person that was going to shell down the corn, as we say here in Atlanta, and he was going to come to court and confirm that the existence, under no uncertain circumstances, confirm the existence of this affair before 2022, as the couple has admitted to, and which would mean that they're lying. And if they're lying about that, they're lying about the cash and everything else. Well, by the time he gets to the witness stand under subpoena, he doesn't want to be there, and he claims attorney-client privilege, attorney-client privilege, attorney-client privilege. The things that weren't attorney-client privilege when he was texting about it, but apparently it was now. So he didn't want to testify. The judge eventually decided that he might be interpreting attorney-client privilege just a little too broadly. So the judge brought him back and had a discussion behind closed doors. It's called an in-camera examination. And then the judge ruled, okay, it's not all attorney-client privilege. Some of it's based on personal observation and other stuff. He's going to have to come back and testify and answer these questions. Well, when he came back, he didn't remember. He remembered the text messages, but claimed he was speculating. So they confronted him with these text messages and their prior inconsistent statements. And in Georgia, a prior inconsistent statement of a testifying witness can be used as substantive evidence, like a crime scene photo that the jury or the judge can hang their hat on to make a decision. So one of the things that he was asked the last time he was on the stand is, have you talked to Nathan Wade about this? And the testimony was something along the lines of, no, not since I left the firm, right? Which was a couple of years ago, like summer of 2022. So the testimony was no, and certainly not recently. So that brings us to the audio that I think Eric's about to play.
Okay, great. Roll it.
Hey, Ashley. I'm calling. So I just watched the Terrence Bradley hearing, and I noticed on there he said that he hasn't talked to Nathan Wade in 2 years. But I work at a restaurant here on the square, and I waited on Terrence, BC Chopper, and Nathan Wade about 5 weeks ago. So I just saw that and thought maybe you should know that if you want to call me back.
Well, that didn't work out quite according to
Wait a
plan.
minute. Wait.
2 years, 5 weeks.
Okay.
One of these is not quite like the other.
So the Marietta Square, that's in Cobb County, which is right. My office is on the Marietta Square. There's a lot of restaurants right around there. It's a typical Southern town square, and you got some pretty good places to eat. And a lot of the courthouse crowd will gather at these various restaurants. And if you go there enough, they know you, right? It's not we're not downtown LA, and if you go there enough, the servers get to know people, and so. That happened, I think, today. And I know that when it became, all the lawyers who represent these various defendants, they all became aware of it. And at the beginning of the hearing today, one of the lawyers said, Judge, before we get into all this, we want to reopen the evidence in the case because we've got something that you're going to want to hear. Well, and the judge says, well, I don't know. See, the judge didn't know what it was, and the judge says, well, I don't really think we need to reopen the evidence. You can brief it or send it to me later, and if it's something we need to take up, then we will. So the parties then they wanted to make what's called a proffer, where basically you say to the judge what the evidence is. And the prosecutor doesn't know anything. I don't know anything about it. Prosecutor hadn't heard it yet. Well, before. It had already been broken. I think Megyn Kelly played it at noon when she was live on Sirius XM. She had the audio, and I believe her team actually spoke to the server about it, and I think he confirmed to them that it is in fact true. So I don't know what's going to come of this, but what it would suggest was that there was some type of a meeting between Wade and Bradley, which can. Depending on the timing of it, it might explain why his in-court testimony was so different from the text exchange, which showed a friendly, collaborative, cordial, congenial sort of a working relationship together between Ashley Merchant, who was looking to develop her case and her claim so that she'd have an accurate motion that she could come to court and argue, and Bradley was helping her. So I don't know where it's going to go from here, but this is literally the latest. It's like breaking as of today. So when I say we're drinking from a fire hose with this case, it's just one thing after another. And I don't know.
Let me ask you this, Phil. Let's just play it out. Let's say she's removed. What happens then?
Exactly.
Let's just play it out both ways. In your humble opinion,
well,
she's removed. Now,
I think she's going to be removed, and of course they've also asked the judge to dismiss the indictment. But let's take it one step at a time. Let's say the judge doesn't dismiss the indictment, but he does remove her. Then that if she's disqualified, her whole office is disqualified.
Well, let me just stop you there. If she's disqualified, the whole office is disqualified because they're reporting to her.
Yeah, she's the boss. It's the power that she has that she delegates to them. Yeah.
Okay, so who would handle this case? Maybe Cobb County or another county possibly? Or
under Georgia's law, it changed a couple of years ago. It used to be the attorney general would appoint somebody, but now it goes to a state agency called the Prosecuting Attorneys Council. And they have to decide whether and if so, who to send it to. But here's there's a problem. And there was another guy, his name's Burt Jones. You may have heard of him. He's currently the lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. He won that seat the same time Fani Willis won hers. She, as a Democrat, supported the Democrat opponent of Republican Burt Jones, and she had attended a fundraiser, may have donated. When the special purpose grand jury that preceded the criminal grand jury, in this case, when they were considering who to recommend charges and all this, another judge in Fulton County said, Ms. Willis, you can't go after Burt Jones. You can't even include him in your investigation. He took her off the case. He said, you got a conflict of interest. You got to leave Burt Jones out of this because you've got a political bias here. And so he disqualified her. They referred that investigation to the Prosecuting Attorneys Council, and it still hasn't moved. And here's why. Nobody else wants this. I don't think any other. Maybe you can find another blue DA around in the metro area, but if the case is so tainted because of this conflict of interest and all the shenanigans that have been going on, and another DA is going to have to start over from scratch. And think about the money and the resources that it's going to take. Fani Willis came into office. She was one of these I'm going to get Trump kind of prosecutors, like the Letitia James. Yeah. And so she targeted the man and everybody that she could bring into this thing she targeted. Any other prosecutor that would be willing to take the case is going to have to think about what it's going to do to their, it's going to drain their resources. It's going to, everybody's still working through the COVID backlog, for God's sake.
Right.
I mean, I don't really see any prosecutor won this.
Wasn't that part of the money that she was using for her vacations was the COVID money?
Well, that's another piece of the claim made by Roman's lawyer, Ashley Merchant. She meaning Willis, went before the Fulton County Commission. With she had like a PowerPoint and all this, and she was saying she needed all this money, millions and millions of dollars to get through the COVID backlog. They gave it to her, and then she starts this case. And so the allegation is that she misused the appropriated money that was supposed to go to the COVID backlog. She used it to go prosecute Trump and everybody else. And so now the Fulton County Commission is looking into whether or not that she recently went back and said she needed some money for a fleet of 16 cars. They said, no, not until you give us some good answers about what you did with this other money. So look, so she's getting it from the county commission. The state Senate now in Georgia has set up a commission to investigate Fani Willis. They've issued a subpoena to Attorney Ashley Merchant for all of her communications with Terrence Bradley. They want to get to the bottom of it. Willis herself was sent a subpoena by Congressman Jim Jordan in the Judiciary Committee. And now she's got, and there's not to mention the state ethics board now has a couple of cases open involving Willis, as does the Fulton County ethics board. So she's playing defense in so many arenas here that, I wrote a piece for Town Hall recently, and I said this case is just going to die a death of 1,000 cuts. And
what about her? Whether she's on or off, I mean, is her career and law license, et cetera, in jeopardy, or even
it is
potentially prison time for perjury?
Her career is potentially in jeopardy. Look, a lawyer has to be at all times honest with the court, even if they're under oath or not. But she came in under oath and testified, and in my opinion, it was untruthful. And now we're in disbarment territory. So if there's all these other, I'm certain there's probably bar complaints that have been filed already. Those are confidential, so we wouldn't have any way to know. But undoubtedly the bar would be looking at that, and if she's found to have lied under oath, she's going to be disbarred. She could potentially be referred for criminal prosecution. I presume that would probably go to the Attorney General. So winning the case against Trump, really, in my opinion, is the least of her concerns right now. She has to take care of some other business that could potentially hit a lot closer to home for her. Her career's on the line. Her law license is on the line. She wanted this, I think, as a stepping stone to other political office. That's probably gone now. She's going to be lucky to get out of this with a law license. But this is certainly not going away. And now that we've got the new witness that's come forward, that was the audio that Eric just played, I don't know how that's going to play out. That doesn't directly involve her, but it does involve her top prosecutor, the special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, which is her, I guess now former lover, at least. So yeah, she's got a lot going to play, and she's got some potential negative consequences that could be coming her way.
Phil, let me ask you something. One question. What was Wade doing in the White House, in your humble opinion?
Trying to get Trump.
Right. Okay. But let's be more specific. I mean, who is he meeting with? I mean, I understand the billing is whatever that crazy billing is, but who is he meeting with? What were they conspiring? Is this election interference? Who did he actually meet with? And can that be gotten to under oath by grilling Wade as to what he was doing in D.C.?
Yeah, and that's what Jim Jordan and them are after. That's one of the things. And see, Jordan has oversight over the White House. It was the White House counsel. That's the answer to your question. That's who his billing records indicate he met. One of them, I don't know. He did go to D.C. When he was in D.C., his records indicated he was meeting with like the January 6th committee up there. He, as I understand it, I read those records. He met with the White House counsel in Athens, Georgia. I don't know why the White House counsel was within Athens, Georgia, but somebody can figure that out.
Maybe they have a satellite office down there.
Yeah, maybe so. But so that's, there's definitely some contacts in D.C. and some contacts with the Biden White House, which, by the way, they should never have had any contact whatsoever with the current occupant of the White House or anybody that works for the man, because they're prosecuting his political. They're prosecuting probably the nominee of the party that's going to be facing Joe Biden in November. And so
tell us about the RICO.
They have no business talking to him.
Right. Well, tell me about the RICO part of it, because that seems to be completely out of bounds and delirious. What's your take on the RICO part?
So the racketeering law in Georgia is pretty broad, and the way I like to describe a RICO case, if you think about a big wagon wheel, you've got the area, the circumference area, you got the spoke in the middle, and then the hub in the middle. You got the various spokes going out. So if you put a person at the end of each of those spokes, right? And they don't necessarily even need to know each other, but if they're working for that common purpose, which is the middle of the thing, even if they don't know each other or have any contact with each other, if all of them can be somehow put on that same wagon wheel, they can all be charged together as in some kind of grand conspiracy. Typically, a conspiracy, you got to have a meeting of the minds. Mark and I would have to agree with each other that we're going to go rob the 7-Eleven. Okay, that's a conspiracy. But in a racketeering case, you don't have to have that meeting of the minds. You literally just have to be able to be placed on that wagon wheel somewhere. And so it's a very broad, powerful law. It was designed to prosecute gangsters and organized crime. And it's moved into, it's been moved into all sorts of things. We saw it in that the college admissions cheating scandal. We saw it. Fani Willis used it herself when she was an assistant district attorney. They prosecuted several dozen teachers in the Atlanta area, the Atlanta public schools. It was a cheating type thing. It's a very famous case involving it's called the APS cheating scandal, where they were basically pencil whipping the SATs and ACTs. And
that was a wonderful scandal. I remember that one.
Yeah, and so she was the lead prosecutor. So she used RICO on that. So she likes to use RICO. But yeah, that wasn't
this the fear of RICO when Giuliani was using it back in New York? I'm from New York, but that was the fear that it was going to be abused, Phil, right?
Yeah, it was. And I think in many cases it is.
Yeah.
RICO is one of those things where if you want to fit somebody in, and you're creative enough, you can find a way. And the thing about Georgia's RICO law, by the way, if you undertake some specific act that's, even if the act itself is not illegal, if it's in furtherance of the object of the, I don't want to say conspiracy, but if it's in furtherance of the basic criminal purpose of the racketeering, then that criminal act can bring you onto that wagon wheel. And that particular act doesn't even have to be in the state of Georgia. This is why they were traveling all around looking at what's going on in other states and things like that. They're bringing in people that did things allegedly in all parts of the state of Georgia from well outside of Fulton County. It's a very, very broad, powerful tool. And, it's the kind of power that you want to vest in people who are fair-minded, people who are objective. You don't want to vest this kind of awesome power in people who have their own personal interests before the interests of justice. Fundamental fairness is what due process of law means. It's fundamental fairness. And if you don't have a fair-minded prosecutor, which is just as important as the right to counsel, the right to a jury trial, the right to be presumed innocent, all of those things that we learn about, hopefully in civics class, they mean nothing if you don't have a fair-minded prosecutor at the very beginning. And here you have a woman on a mission to get a specific person from the moment she takes office.
She's not alone. Like you said, Letitia James, the same thing. Right?
So people tell me all the time, well, what does this have to do with, Trump's guilt? It doesn't. We're not there yet. You can't just jump forward to the trial. You've got to have a fair process before you get to a trial. You can't have a trial without everything else being fair.
It's like poison tree and things like that, right?
Right now we're having to figure out if we have a sleazy prosecutor who's being unfair, or do we have somebody who's not compromised?
Where is the Attorney General of Georgia in this whole thing, Phil?
The Attorney General doesn't have a direct role in this right now.
Right.
A lot of people think that the governor does or the Attorney General does, and they don't. This is for the trial judge and for the appeals courts to deal with. It's potentially for the Bar Association to deal with. These, and if there's another prosecutor that needs to come into it, the Attorney General is even out of that. The only place the Attorney General could come in is if they need somebody to prosecute anybody for perjury. And so that could be the Attorney General's office. You could bring in the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to make a perjury case and either get the AG to do it, or the prosecuting attorney's counsel could find somebody to prosecute somebody for perjury. But
so
really,
there's a lot of tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, if they want to use them now. This is another thing. I've said that if I were the judge, by the way, he's a brand new judge. This is like he had been on the bench like just a few months when he got this case, and he has to stand for election to his own. He was appointed by the governor to fill an unexpired term, but he's got to run, and the election's in May, so that's right around the corner. I forgot where I was going with this. The attorney general, though, has very little to do with it. The courts and the prosecuting attorney's counsel, in the event that they need to do anything. But here's what I would say. The judge, if I were him, I would say, look, I'm going to put the brakes on this case right now. I'm going to ask for some help from an outside criminal investigative agency, like the GBI. And I'm going to get to the bottom of this and find out if these people are lying to me, and if they're perpetrating a fraud on the court, there's going to be hell to pay.
Gets him off the hook.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would say, look, I'm not going to leave it to these defense lawyers to sort this out, because at the end of the day, they're private lawyers. They don't have the resources to investigate this that the state has. After all, look at Ashley Merchant. She's having to text with Terrence Bradley to get information. But the GBI and other, investigative entities have some authority, and they have resources. Now the state Senate, by the way, they have subpoena power. They're starting to do their own investigation, but they can't put anybody in jail. They can recommend changes to the law. That's all they can do. But somebody with the authority to get to the bottom of this needs to do a deep dive and find out who's committed a crime, if anybody, and if there's been a fraud perpetrated on the court, the judge needs to know about it and needs to take swift and very meaningful action, I think.
Okay. Really quickly, we had a super chat coming in. Since it's on point for Phil, I wanted to get it before he takes off. Hi, everyone. Phil, been watching you for a couple days. Best closing arguments ever. Judge McAfee seems to be a straight shooter. Is anyone in his ear now? Unless I think it's Soros, not Soros, is paying cash. Isn't cash in her case trackable?
Yeah, the cash is not going to be trackable. On the judge strikes me as a straight shooter. He's taking notes. He's listening. People make a big deal that it turns out he gave $150 before he was a judge. He donated $150 to her campaign. But like I said, I put a yard sign up for her too. That's because everybody wanted to get rid of the other guy.
Well, you deny knocking boots with her, don't you, Phil?
I can assure you that's
okay. No, I don't know. Look, I don't know. You come on the show here. What do I know?
Well, I was thinking she and Kamala resemble each other slightly, and Nathan Wade was in the White House. Oh, wait, never mind.
Wait.
Well, yeah, but the judge, I think the judge is being thoughtful, and he's. I wish he would not allow the prosecutor to make what we call speaking objections to every question. I'd like to give people the opportunity to answer their questions so we can hear what they got to say. But that's my only criticism of him, is I wish he could maybe control the party's objections a little bit more. But he's been down the middle. Is
he going to have to create precedent here, Phil, in Georgia law for this area of prosecutors and gifts and blah, blah, blah? Is this some area that's kind of gray, Phil?
Yeah, there's some grayness here. He's going to have to make a ruling, and whatever ruling he makes is going to be appealed. Whether Willis wins or the defendants win, whoever loses gets to appeal this at some point, and it's going to go to the Georgia Court of Appeals and perhaps even to the Georgia Supreme Court. And so there will be some case law that's made on the basis of this case. What it actually turns out to be remains to be seen. But needless to say, this is going to be tied up. This issue is going to tie this case up on appeal long past the election. Can you imagine if Trump wins, right, and he's the president? Is she going to try to put Donald Trump on trial in a courtroom in Fulton County? I think not.
Well, Kemp, the statements I've read from Kemp have been kind of muddy. He seems to be trying to be on both sides of the fence on this issue. Yeah.
Well, he's got no role here. So he was he was a witness before I know the special purpose grand jury, but I think he gave testimony before the criminal grand jury in this case, all pertaining to things having to do with the circumstances surrounding the election. And nobody knows what that testimony was. It's all in secret.
Right.
But because he was at one time a witness, he has stated publicly he feels like he just needs to let the court system handle it. And that's probably politically, that's the safest thing he can say. But he has no role to play in. I see a lot of criticism of Kemp. He needs to step in and do something. Well, there's nothing he can do. He has no power to do anything at this point. Yeah. Our governor doesn't even have the power to pardon anybody. It's a state agency called the Board of Pardons and Parole. So
sounds
the governor,
like a warm bucket of spit, this job, Phil. What's the deal with that governor's job?
yeah. Well, I think there was probably some abuse of the pardons. And so a long time ago in the state of Georgia, I think it was done by a constitutional amendment or statute, but they took that away and they made it a state agency that has all the pull. Now the governor gets to put people on that board, but he can't make them do anything.
Who's that governor that showed up and testified? The former governor?
That was Roy Barnes. He was the governor, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 governors ago. He's also a lawyer that I'll see around on the Marietta Square. He practices law still, right around the corner from me. He's a very nice guy, but they brought Roy Barnes to court because at one point they wanted to perhaps bring Roy onto the team as a special prosecutor. Now Roy didn't want anything to do with it, but they brought him down there to court to have him testify to the judge. The idea being that, she was maybe Nathan Wade wasn't her first choice, right, to be the lead prosecutor on this. Maybe it was Governor Barnes. But
are you saying she knocked boots with Governor Barnes before?
No, but on cross-examination, Barnes said that when he went down there to talk to her about it, Nathan Wade was in the room. So Nathan,
I remember that.
He was already on the team. So his testimony was absolute. I mean, I like Roy. I mean, I've met. He's a not very nice guy, very friendly. One of the most friendly gentlemen I've ever met. He's a good lawyer too. But he didn't want to have anything to do with this. And so, but when it came out on cross-examination that Wade was already in the room, Wade was already on the team. Her boyfriend was already on the team. So what difference does it make that they thought about bringing Roy Barnes on as well? Makes nothing.
Wow. Can I ask you something on another subject that we've got going on out here, which is the squatting in upscale homes that I notice is becoming outside in the suburb of Atlanta. We've got the same situation here in Beverly Hills and some other upscale neighborhoods. What is going on, and how do you get out of this mess?
Man, I tell you, we got a big problem here, and finally, our legislature this year has got some laws that I think it's passed. It's just going to, as soon as the legislative session ends and it's going to go to the governor, we're going to give law enforcement the ability to drag people out. It's just like it's just like theft, right? Yeah. But even back to my days as a law enforcement officer, I remember dealing with these things, and you have people that just wouldn't leave, and we couldn't make them. Like we'd have to tell them, you got to go down and file an eviction. Well, you got them setting up nightclubs. There were no evictions.
Right. But I'm saying
they do. They have these party houses. Right.
Right. We have the same thing here, Phil.
In Queens now, too.
Yeah. In Queens. I mean, it's spreading.
Well, you got to empower the cops.
Right.
You got to empower the cops. You got to give the cops, when you come home from vacation and you got people to set up shop in your house and they're not supposed to be there, you call the cops and the cops come in. Well, it's a civil matter. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Well, now those days are over. The cops are going to be able to do this. Unfortunately, this bill could be a little bit stronger. Unfortunately, it's a misdemeanor, but I think but at least it gives the cops the ability to get them out, and that'll solve that piece of it. And you don't have to just basically say, all right, well, there's nothing I can do. You're going to have to go sue them in the magistrate court for an eviction, just like a tenant that doesn't pay their rent, And
that's backed up. That's also backed up in court.
Yeah. So I think it's a good bill, and I'm glad that Georgia's finally going to do something about it. there's people think that we're just a bunch of hicks down here. We can't get anything right, especially if you look at what's going on in Fulton County. Of course you're going to have that opinion, but there are some good things going on in our legislature, and this is one of them.
Right.
We're also about to crack down on retail theft, and they're going to start prosecuting that as organized crime. I know that's also a problem out there in California.
Oh yeah.
Georgia's taking some real concrete steps to deal with that as well.
Well, we've got a governor running for president. So, here's something from Phil. Hold on.
Phil, do you think the lawyer the state chose for the closing argument was a good choice?
Wasn't it 3 lawyers? I saw about 2 or 3 lawyers.
Well, I think that they didn't have a choice because his name was Adam Abadi. The lady who had been handling the lion's share of this, her name's Anna Cross. She's another private lawyer that Willis brought in pursuant to a contract. And she is noticeably absent from the last couple of court appearances. She was absent again today. Her name has not appeared on any pleadings since sometime last week, which makes us wonder, is she coming back? And so if Cross is gone and Willis can't do it herself because she's the focus of this hearing, and if Wade can't do it because he's the focus of this hearing, the guy that did it was like the only person left that could do it. He's actually the head of their major crimes unit down there at the DA's office. But a lot of people are criticizing his performance as, looking like he was kind of unprepared. It's understandable. But I think they were just out of options. I think they had nobody left. And the big question is,
where's no one on the bench? They have no one on the bench.
Where's Cross? She said in an email to some other lawyers, recently, she's because with the hearing with Bradley on Tuesday, she said, I'm not going to be there. It's too short notice. I've got obligations with my other clients. And again, this is so crazy that you have lawyers that are not full-time prosecutors that are like contractors brought in. This is bizarre. But she's like, I got too many other things going on. I can't make it on Tuesday, and I'm going to be out for the foreseeable future or the next several weeks or something along those lines. A lot of us are watching very closely to see if she's coming back. It's an open question. Maybe she says, look, I think that my boss in this matter has been untruthful, and I gotta get out of it. I can't participate in the fraud. Maybe she said that, or maybe she really does just have too many other things to do. We don't know yet. We'll have to see.
Wow. Well, Phil, is it possible to have you come back next Friday with an update if you got the time?
Yeah. I like it. On one condition, Mark, and this is for you. You ready? Right.
Yeah.
You got to follow me on Twitter.
Oh yeah, sure.
I've been replying to you, trying to get you to for a while, and you. Yeah, you.
Mark barely knows how to use Twitter.
Dude,
he blocks everybody else.
I'm a complete Luddite when it comes to this, so please don't take it personally. Sure, absolutely.
I'll follow no, guys. But in all seriousness, I'm happy to anytime. I'm a big fan of the show. I tell you, I'm a JFK buff, and that's what got me interested in your show. And every time I go to Dallas and Dealey Plaza, I try to personally investigate it myself. And so, I'm obviously not the expert that you guys are, but it's something that's a rabbit hole that I find myself falling into from time to time. And it's just one of the things that got me interested in your program. So I'm always happy and I'm honored to be a guest. And I appreciate you having me.
Love to have you back. Give us an update next week so we can follow this thing. There's so many trials going on, Phil. I mean,
I know
it's a full-time job now. We need to bring in
guys or the week after if there's nothing going on. From what I understand,
there's going to be with the sound that you played of that voicemail. I imagine there's going to be something happening in the near term on that. We'll just have to see what the lawyers are going to do. They're going to have to file something to deal with that issue. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. I think we got something here. This is great.
All right. Well,
thank you, Phil.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can't wait to see you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a
lot.
Talk
soon.
See you. Bye-bye. All right. So moving on to the rest of the news.
That was informative.
God, yes. Definitely.
I have no idea what's going on down there in Fulton County.
I still don't completely. It seems like a complete mess.
What a mess. Holy crap.
All right. So let's move to your home state.
Oh, do we have to? What do I have?
I like to let you sit in there.
What's going on here?
I guess there's a minimum wage law that was put into place.
Okay.
but there's a bit of an exception.
Oh, interesting.
I guess that minimum wage is $20 an hour.
Yeah, this
unless you're involved in a, how do I put it, a business that deals with buns, like brioche buns and sandwiches. And I guess Gavin Newsom's buddy runs Panera.
You know, like Lenny Bruce said about Chicago, it's so corrupt, it's thrilling. Newsom has been so out there in his corruption when it comes to cronyism. It's breathtaking, and he just feels that he's bulletproof. Again, they started another recall this week of Gavin Newsom, Eric, because of incidents like this. The French Laundry, where he was dining with all the Pfizer executives during COVID. This particular situation, putting people on various boards. He is brazen in his cronyism. He doesn't think cronyism is a crime in terms of political malfeasance. And the recall is going to start up again. It's a lower bar this time because less people voted the last time. They only need 700,000 signatures to begin the recall again, which is going to happen again as he's running for president.
Okay, well, you know what? I've got to continue this trend. So we went to California, your home state now. So let's go to your old home, Brooklyn.
Oh, my God. Do we have to? What's going on there? I'm afraid to look. Brooklyn
neighborhood terrified after a deli worker executed over a $2 cigar.
What a disaster.
I guess
what a disaster.
And it is just this horrible situation where this guy here apparently refused to, give away a $2 cigar. And I understand that. Hey, I don't just give shit away. Yeah. And then this cat, they're searching for him. I don't think they found him yet.
Right.
Apparently just left, came back, and just boom. Yeah. Just executed him right in front of everybody.
Well, people seem to leave to get their weapons in both states because they don't want to be caught with guns on them. So these incidents usually occur when people leave and come back. Here too, they go to the car or they go somewhere to get their piece and then come back and do their dirty work. But oh my God, it's so dark, Eric. So dark.
Yeah, I totally agree. Somebody in the chat keeps asking, "What about Mitch McConnell?" And I'm like, good riddance.
Good riddance. Goodbye. Did you see that sword fight on Venice Beach between the?
Yeah, I said that.
Okay, that's a good one. That's one of my favorite of the week. I don't even know who to root for in this fight. One woman is naked. The other one has a sword. Then the two swords, or she has the thing.
Spiked clubs.
A spiked club. I'm sorry. I take that back. It's not a sword.
Get your right medieval.
Where do you get these things? I don't know, but this is usually the tools of meth. They usually have swords or spiked clubs.
Oh, that's right. You have the samurai sword.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime there's meth involved, it's usually a sword or a spiked club.
Wow.
Look how she prances around naked. Going at the other one. Then she drops it. She picks it up. There she goes. She's got it now. Now she's on the aggressive side. Here she goes. She's chasing her. And then something happens where she picks up the club.
Right.
So this is a good family environment day at the beach, at Venice Beach. Newsom says Newsom claims that he's cleaned up the homeless problem at Venice Beach. We've got an election here. This is election month, of course, where it goes on for over a month of just voting randomly, various places. I didn't even get a mail-in ballot this year. I don't even know what's going on. I have to physically go in there Monday and vote, which takes a lot of time. Not the voting. It takes a lot of time to do the research to vote. And I realized, I was telling you the other day, this is an open primary election that has all these overlapping things. Like I can't vote for Trump because I'm a registered Democrat, but I can vote for Steve Garvey, who's running to fill the Senate seat. And also there's a separate election for the Senate where it's him and what's his face, the congressman, the pencil neck geek guy, and Barbara Lee and Porter. So it's a primary for that, but that's Republican and Democrat. There's a lot of overlapping rules here in terms of what you can vote for and what you can. And then there's ballot initiatives, which you can vote for. So I'm going to have to go in there on Monday.
All right. Well, let's move on to some more good news.
Okay.
I always love these as positive signs.
Oh, yeah.
University of Florida fires all DEI employees and eliminates the department, essentially.
Yeah, that's today. That just broke today. DeSantis pulling that off and funneling millions of the money saved back into the University of Florida system, which is really great. How difficult is that? How difficult was that? Let them go to court. Let them sue. Knock your brains out. Who cares? I mean, you got them out of there. Take the money, funnel it back into sports, Title IX programs, hopefully, and some other things that you could find to be.
How about educational things?
Or educational things.
Yeah. At a university.
Yeah.
Something that is actually of use.
Well, there are a lot of electives in the university system. So, I mean, this is not an elementary school thing, but, nevertheless, there are things you could funnel into that aren't social studies.
By the way, this actually broke while we were going. Mm-hmm. Top Adams age suffered medical episode, rushed to hospital as feds raided home over donor probe.
Okay, so this is the Chinese woman now. This is different than the black woman they raided 2 months ago. This is now a separate woman who's been raided by the FBI as they circle the wagons around Eric there. Eric the mayor, that is, not Eric.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
not Eric. Not Eric.
I'm already having rust worries with Carrie Morrissey and wagons. You're scary. I mean, careful.
No, I mean they are circling the wagons on this guy. Somebody wants him out, and I think it's the Biden administration. So, whoever orders the FBI, who does that? You think the FBI wakes up one day and says we're going to go into New York and take down the staff of the mayor? Give me a break. I mean, this is coming out of Merrick Garland, which means it's coming out of the cabal surrounding the late Joe Biden, who I assume passed away a number of years ago. He went to see a doctor at Bethesda or the other place, and they told him it was a perfect bill of health. Now, if you really wanted to have some veracity, you could say some stuff. Well, this is not as sharp, but no, that's not what the Marxists do. It's 100% perfect health.
No, it's like the most secure election in history.
Most secure election in history. Threat to democracy, blah, blah, blah. The guy's had 2 brain aneurysms in the past 10 years or 15 years. I mean, no possible damage to this incredible Nobel Science winning author. I mean, give me a break with this thing. I mean, what's his name? When he came out, they showed the press conference the other night. I don't know if you remember this. When the what's his name, who was Trump's Surgeon General, did the examination of Trump. Trump's doctor, who had been Obama's doctor, came out and somebody ran the press conference. It was all women screaming questions about Trump. Not one of them has ever asked a similar question of Joe Biden. The reporters, White House press corps, screaming. Did Trump forget his own name? Did you talk about his weight? Is he obese? On and on and on. And he handled these questions, the Surgeon General. Not one of the same reporters has dared to ask a similar question about Joe Biden's mental health, physical health, age, dementia, the chlamydia that he has, the gonorrhea that apparently he has, and other
allegedly
and other illnesses. Ask his daughter what he was doing in the shower with her, forcing his way in there.
I don't even want to
ask his daughter about that. This creep. And now, I mean, we've got his son testifying under oath in the deposition.
And he is the big guy.
He is the big guy, according to Hunter Biden.
But by the way, you're a drug counselor now. I'm seeing markers of anything that I did, I was high.
Oh yeah. That's a constant. His lawyers have advised him that's the equivalent of I don't recall in a deposition. Instead of saying I don't recall, his deposition is I don't recall because I was high as a kite. So he's trying to use both to accomplish the same thing. I don't recall. You saw some no recalling in Sarah Zachary's testimony in the Rust case.
The rest we're gonna push that off a little bit. I know folks want to hear more. Sarah Zachary's testimony is devastating. But Tuesday,
right? Full on Tuesday.
Tuesday, it's going to be the Rust trial roundup. And we're going all Rust on that show. we're going to have another day, 2 days of testimony. Might be close to the wrapping of the prosecutor's case.
It'll be
I
better.
will say at this point right now, I don't even know if they need to put on a defense. It's going so badly for the prosecution.
I
think.
Dude, I was hammered on. I went into the comment section and I said, "This thing's over." And these people were hammering me. I guess they wanted to go on. This was 2 days ago. I said this thing's over. I mean, Bowles has planted and muddied the waters enough to acquit his client, and that's what his job is.
Or at least hang a jury. I mean, I'm sure they're hung.
I know they definitely are. But I'll tell you something. I was watching the roundup with what's his face last night on Court TV when he does the roundup, and they were showing, the question of was Baldwin hurrying up the crew. That scene where he's just shooting guns off, going, "Come on, let's go again, ready to go." That is in that one little video of Baldwin shooting off the guns outside on the little hill. That is the encapsulation to me of the entire problem of this film. Having this, because it covers a lot of terrain, the loose guns, the forcing of safety issues, the big A-list star yelling at the crew, superseding the director, bossing people around. And nobody got hurt in that one because he was firing off blanks. But there it was. That video is so, and we'll get into it on Tuesday more. We'll play the video and get into it. I don't want to get into it here, but holy crap, that Zachary testimony this morning, Bowles just shredded her. And I'll point out one other thing. Three men who are prosecution witnesses, 3 men have wept openly on the stand after 2.5 years from the incident. Please, somebody, and I'm a weeper. I weep at Dodger games. I'll watch Kirk Gibson hit the home run and cry. So I'm not using that as a masculine detriment to these people, but 3 of them, come on, give me a break. After 2.5 years, start weeping openly on the stand.
Mark, they have their own cases. Well, Halls doesn't, but they have their own cases. No. They're weeping because they see the money disappearing. It's sad. It's like, oh shit, my civil case is gonna blow up now. What am I gonna do?
I know. And don't forget, in July we've got the Baldwin trial, which to me, as I said in the Court TV chat, that's the big enchilada. This is low-hanging fruit. I believe this is punishment for her not taking the plea deal and rolling over like Halls did. This would have been Halls. Halls would have been in this position, Eric, if he didn't take the deal. And they want the big enchilada at the end of July.
They also look really bad though because they gave Sarah Zachary a deal. And it
looks ugly.
So Tuesday's going to be huge. Tuesday
will be fine. We'll get into it on Tuesday.
All right. So, but back on the anti-woke thing, or I think we are slowly getting past peak woke, which is encouraging. We talk about late night TV, all these things. Shane Gillis appeared on Saturday Night Live, and to his credit, he did not hold back. He did not. That was not a pussyfooted.
No, that whole Down syndrome thing was great.
But what I love here is everybody wanted to jump on him, and here we have this guy Chris Burke.
Who's
Chris Burke? He is an actor. He's the first actor cast with Down syndrome.
Oh, right. Looks like he's got Down syndrome. Yeah,
right. But he defended Shane Gillis, saying essentially that he deserves to be made fun of. He deserves to be mocked. That by making comedy and mentioning Down syndrome, that's accepting them into society.
Well, the Farrelly brothers made their bones doing this out of Rhode Island, using handicapped people in their movies and treating them normally. That's what put the Farrelly brothers on the map in the comedy world. Shane is not the first one to do this, but this is his own relatives and stuff like that. He's quite within his rights to do that. And there was dead silence in that audience, bro. There was dead silence.
What I like about it too is I feel like it may be a quiet nod to Norm Macdonald, because remember, Norm Macdonald was fired for Saturday Night Live. Shane Gillis was fired from Saturday Night Live. Norm Macdonald famously came back and he said, well, he had me, so it must really suck. And Norm Macdonald also got in hot water because he didn't want to say it's YouTube, the R word, and as in arted.
Gotcha.
So he used Down's syndrome. himself.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I think that Shane Gillis is quietly.
Well, that was a pretty well developed routine that he had. You know what I mean, in terms of the Down syndrome.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure, but I'm just.
But his parents were sitting right there too, which is great.
And he mocked his dad. He's nice to his mom.
Dude, just a great performance. It's so shocking, but it leads back to my theory that these heads are going to tumble, that this thing is going to end. They can't sustain these numbers, and I predict that Jimmy Kimmel will go, and I think the rest of them will eventually go, including Colbert. And I think Jon Stewart weeping on open camera Monday night, one of the lowest, most despicable things I've ever seen, comes out. He had some dog that he took care of that he just got from a pound, a 3-legged dog that died, and he's weeping as if it's Old Yeller or something. Give me a break. And I'm a dog guy. I mean, I'm not denouncing the thing, but to have this guy, he seems each week to be trying to make national news. And this week was him weeping on camera about a 3-legged dog that he got from the pound a couple of months ago, passing away. Give me a break.
Yeah, I don't know. It is crazy. And I one thing I even thought a couple of the routines were pretty good. The skits. They did one skit.
I didn't wait around for that. What happened?
Well, they did. Well, I didn't watch the show. I caught it on X. You know, it's like people clip it and you just watch the clip. They did what I thought was a pretty good piece on gambling. And well, it was essentially is about a betting game to see when your friend is going to lose everything because of their gambling habit.
Okay, that's funny.
It was incredibly dark, but I thought it was well on point.
Did you say Shane had a part in this or no?
Yes, yeah, it was him and a couple other people, and it was a routine essentially about
that's cool.
This app. When are they going to lose their family? When are they
going
to lose
their life? Well, if they ever do take this SNL out of its nosedive, they will never be able to run the last 20 years of reruns. There will be no 20th anniversary because the last 20 years are unwatchable, which will be very funny. They'll have to show the original Saturday Night Live. Yeah. All right. What else you got there, Hunley?
All right. Well, let me go through some super chats just to make sure we get that. Yeah. Pasha here is saying, I need to say the thumbnail photo on today's stream doesn't look much like Phil Holloway, but my glasses might be dirty, I guess.
Come on, Pasha. That's as close as we can get.
All right. Dick Dickerson with 10 gift memberships for people, which is like $50. Again, thank you very much, Dick. That does help, especially being demonetized.
Yeah.
Dustin made the show on time, but had to pair up with a wheelchair basketball team for a high-speed escort through city streets.
Wow, that's interesting. You know, speaking of wheelchair willies, Abbott Trump gave a nod to Abbott as being on the short list of VPs.
Yeah, but Trump's a green. Anybody's on the short list.
I'm just saying, Eric. I know. My mother's on the short list, for Christ's sakes.
By the way, did you see that appearance with Trump next to Abbott? There was a clip going around. I almost put it on to open today, but Trump's standing there next to Abbott, looking across the border through the fence, and there's people on the other side of the border. I don't know if they're Mexicans or others, but there were Trump, and Trump starts waving at him, and he turns.
Oh, I did see that.
He goes, "What do you know? They like Trump."
Wow, that's funny. Dude, the whole debacle of Biden running down there to follow Trump is completely insane. The split screen. I was doing Greg Budell's show yesterday, and Greg had the live remote on during the show. He was watching the split screen and describing it as we were both doing the radio show out of Montgomery yesterday. Just absolutely one of the great split screens of all time, showing, for those who didn't see it, a vigorous, aggressive Trump shaking hands, doing Trumpian things, and the old man just crawling along with his baby steps. And by the way, again, I'll tell you this I don't know if I mentioned it last week. He now has a staircase Secret Service agent delegated. Yeah. For just staircases. I was telling Greg about this yesterday. Crazy staircase Secret Service. I want to see the training that they do for the staircase separately. SNL should do that sketch of just having a guy walking up the stairs and training them, falling down, and the guy trying to catch him. That would be funny.
I don't know. You can't make it up. I still love that, though. It's like, they like Trump. Yeah. Oh, my God. back to woke a little bit. Unfortunately, it's not completely gone because you still have idiocy out there.
Oh, this is crazy. This is London craziness. The
Yeah.
white. What is the white gaze? I like it. It's a great white hope. It's called the white gaze.
Oh, well, it's a variant on the male gaze.
Oh,
you
okay,
know,
okay.
it's like if men are looking at women, it's like
Mhm.
it's a gaze.
Oh, I'm gazing, all right, to see if they're packing a piece. That's what I'm gazing at. There was a famous case. This kid was the editor of the NYU student newspaper, I think in the mid-90s. And he wrote a story that if you're walking down in the middle of the night on a street in New York with your girlfriend, you're holding her tight. And then on one side of the street is a gang of a group of like 8 black teenagers. And on the other side of the street is a group of 8 Chinese teenagers. Which side of the street do you walk on? Well, he was fired. He was fired for this thought piece. And I think it went to court. And I don't know what happened to the results in the case. But a fascinating thought piece as to which side with your girlfriend do you walk on. 8 black teenagers on one sidewalk, 8 Chinese teenagers on the other sidewalk, Chinese Americans, I assume. Which way do you go? And if you choose one or the other, you're obviously a bigot.
Of course. And let's be honest, it's a similar principle of if you're walking down the street and there's a pit bull off of a leash,
right?
Do you say, hi, nice doggy? Or do you maybe keep your distance?
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain things that you know damn well what people are going to do. They're never going to say it out loud, what they're doing, but we know what people will likely choose.
Well, will they choose to come to the meetup in Youngstown? That's what I'm concerned about, because I'd like to meet these people, Eric.
Yeah,
I mean,
good point.
Will
good
they
point.
come and meet with us or have dinner, break bread, talk conspiratorial crap? I mean, the last couple of times it's been really exciting.
Well, definitely. We've done the one meetup in Montgomery. It was the official meetup, and then we met a bunch of people in Dallas.
Right.
And we have people who actually are coming to this meetup who were both in Dallas and in Montgomery.
Whoa. You know, I think we need a T-shirt for each meetup. I don't know how that's going to be done.
Well, we do have.
Okay.
We have different things going, but it's a good idea. But yeah, Oswald.
Okay.
Definitely. Oswald's up there. He's waiting for us, Mark.
Okay.
You know what? 2 weeks from today.
Wait, is that Oswald right there?
That's Oswald. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
2 weeks from today, I believe we will be doing Freeform Friday from Youngstown from the stage.
From a stage. That's even better.
Yep.
And we have special guests who will stop by. Is that?
We're still trying to work it out. What is going to happen is definitely going to be a live show, no matter what. But we've got some feelers out there.
Oh, look at that. Okay, you put your phone up to that squiggle.
Yep, you can put your phone at that, scan that. We can. Oh, here we go. Dustin is a 2-time.
Well, tell him what he's won, Bob. You've won a Shefflet Lewitt vacuum cleaner. Yeah, there are people who have done both. A very interesting, small, select group that will be maybe 3-time winners for all we know. They show up in Youngstown. Isn't he from Ohio?
Dustin is, yes, but we also have a federal judge who's coming.
Oh, I like the federal judge. She's great.
And she was both in Dallas and at the Montgomery meetup. So we have some.
Will people be arrested on St. Paddy's Day, drunk and disorderly? I certainly hope so. It is Crime Town, USA. I hope there's some incidents of drunkenness and stupidity. That's all I can hope for.
We actually did. We did get a question in. I think Leslie told me that somebody's saying, "Are there any safe hotels?" It's like, no.
Yeah, I know.
That was 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago. Things have changed. It's safe now.
Right.
But that cracked me up. But while we're talking about crime and Crime Town, I saw this article and I thought it went in line with the teachers, the female teachers who are having sex with their students, which I think
you can't say that.
I think it's a power paradigm, in my opinion.
It is. Yeah.
And this, I think, is maybe another example of it. You have female guards taken advantage or allowing themselves to be taken advantage of by male inmates. I think
these female guards are with the male inmates?
Yes.
Why are there female guards with the male inmates?
They
This woman's a prisoner, right? She's a prisoner.
No, she's a guard. Now
She's a prisoner. Now she's a prisoner.
Yes.
Okay. She's guarding
both sides.
Men? Wait.
Yes. Yes.
She's guarding men?
Yes.
Is that the system now? I thought it was men with men, women with women.
Apparently, they have co-ed staff in some places, which I do not think is the brightest idea on the planet.
Insane. What do they expect to happen? Jesus Christ.
Thank you. And I just brought it up because I think it's kind of more.
If I was in a men's prison, I would transition in 5 seconds, or say I am, just to get into the women's prison and meet girls and hang out. I would do it in 5 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But anyway, I wanted to share that because I think it is the same or similar.
Well, it's a little different, but yeah.
All right. Now you sent me this one earlier, and it's about Terrence Howard.
Oh, Terrence Howard. Yeah, this happened. He's not the first guy to do this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Wesley Snipes did this also. There was a black accountant who was doing taxes for black celebrities a number of years ago, who told them they didn't have to pay taxes because of reparations and slavery. And I think Howard did the same thing here. He has to pay $1 million to the IRS and back taxes, and he's barking that he shouldn't have to pay because somewhere 250 years ago, someone owned his some relative.
Yeah, I like that. So, I'll take my reparations now.
I'll take it now. I'll take the $1 million discount. In fact, he's probably saying it's $2 million and they owe him $1 million. That would be smart. He's been a sketchy cat since day one, this Terrence Howard. The reason I mention it, he was, and I know this from firsthand accounts, he was on Iron Man.
And he got thrown off.
Well, he got thrown off. He got thrown off because he came up he came late to the set every single day. And he said, "You can't get rid of me. I am built into this storyline." And Robert Downey said to Shane Black, both of them I know, but Shane was the director. It was Iron Man 3. He said, "Get him out of here." And that was the end of him. They got Don Cheadle to replace him in 5 minutes. And he had whiplash from this this thing because he was fired so fast by Downey and Shane, who wouldn't put up with it. And he was in shock. He thought that he could show up on his own time frame and work whenever he wanted to. It's a real piece of work, this cat.
Well, he can now go start putting his hand out and digging for reparations to pay his tax bill. Yeah. Super chat from Al Gonzalez. Had tickets for a Gilbert Richard Lewis show about 10 years ago, but the show was canceled because Richard had a medical issue. That show would have been legendary. Richard was from the town next to me in Jersey.
That's right. In fact, he was such a hypochondriac. I mean, I guess even hypochondriacs have diseases, but he was diagnosed a year ago with Parkinson's. And it is what it is. But I mean, he had other hypochondriacal issues and real issues because of his eating disorders and addiction. He was sober a long time, but I mean, he still had eating disorders and stuff like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was something related to that back in the day. 10 years ago, it's not that long ago. But yeah, him and Gilbert, I mean, there are both legends, both in improv heaven right now.
Yeah, it's big losses recent.
Yeah, comedy losses.
Trey Ellswick, my sincerest condolences, Mark. I really cannot believe they demonetized this. Stand with Israel.
If it was said stand with Israel, they probably demonetized this. Thank you so much.
No kidding. Dustin, this is pretty good. Breaking news. Night Court Judge Harry T. Stone blocks Trump from New York ballot.
Now that's funny. That's pretty good.
Dustin comes up with some good ones.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And Jason Willis does not want to be associated with the Fani Willis because Fani is a disgrace to all the Willises.
No, this is Dontre Willis, the famous baseball pitcher, the lefty, the left-handed pitchers.
Oh, I thought it was Bruce Willis's cousin.
No, this is there's David Willis, who famously went around, who is Bruce Willis's real brother, who would go around with Alan Kaufman, an old friend of mine, and round up girls in Eastern European countries when Bruce Willis was shooting in aforementioned countries on those low-budget indies, where he got the money in a brown paper bag in cash. Bruce Willis, the last 10 or 15 years of his career.
Wait Wait a minute. He did that. Larry Hagman did that too, right?
They all did it. Everybody, they all do it. They all do it. Chuck Berry did it in 1956. You had to pay Chuck Berry in a paper bag with cash. They all do it. Everybody wants to get around the taxes.
Oh, speaking of Chuck Berry, that reminds me of Chuck Berry having his little camera habit.
Oh, and, yes, that was at Berry World in his motel strip.
Well, apparently, I don't know what you call the guy anymore, but Sean Combs, who is Puff Daddy, Puff Diddy, P. Diddy, whatever he is, they're claiming that his entire house was wired for cameras, and he's like the Epstein of the quote rap world. I haven't got deep into it. There's like this stuff is like just coming out right now, and it may come up on Freeform Friday, but definitely.
All right, let's look into it. If anybody knows anything about it, please send us the actual footage so I can view it privately.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your service.
Hunley with a quick laugh. I just got the joke. But yeah, no, I don't know. I heard that too. I don't know what's going on. But Chuck Berry famously had cameras in all the toilets in his motel strip that he owned, a motel unit thing, Berry World, I forgot what it was called. And the cameras were from the inside the toilet. And some private eye actually stumbled onto them in a dumpster outside of the motel units looking for something else. And he famously found all the footage.
Wow.
And these are just random people stopping by to use the motel rooms. These are not celebrities like with P. Diddy.
That's pretty good. My ding-a-ling.
That's funny. That's pretty funny. Thank you.
Oh, good Lord.
By the way, just a couple of movie picks. Muscle Shoals, the documentary about the Muscle Shoals studio down in Alabama outside of Montgomery. Highly recommended. I think it's on Prime or Netflix. Fantastic. Star-studded. Everyone's in it, from the Rolling Stones, Alicia Keys, Allman Brothers, all these incredible people, Percy Sledge, that created that Muscle Shoals soul sound out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Leonard Skinner, everybody. Fantastic documentary. I think it came out this year or the year before. And also, I'm recommending Al Pacino, the old movie, And Justice for All.
I love that movie.
Okay, that's my mainstream Hollywood pick of the weekend. Is And Justice for All.
That was the creation of the that exaggerated Al Pacino character that he played in every movie after that, right?
Yeah, you're out of order. This whole court's out of order. And the only justices in the halls of justice are in the halls. Lenny Bruce actually said that in 1958 with his own trials and tribulations. But again, I think with apropos for this day and age, Al Pacino and Justice for All, and for a serious one, I would choose Muscle Shoals as a documentary.
Wow. No, definitely. Okay. So have you followed this more? We talked about it a little bit earlier today, but it's the Catherine Herridge civil contempt thing. The interesting thing about this case that was pointed out by Steve Draper, Southern Law, that he said normally in these contempt cases, it's a case of somebody fighting against the government to do something. But in this case, it's the government that's being protected by Catherine Herridge. Which is
again, she can have whistleblower sources inside the government area. So the same thing stands.
No, I totally agree. No, I totally agree. A source is a source is a source. And of course, I personally care about this.
A horse, of course.
Of
course.
And that's where I was going. But anyway, I have personal feelings about this because of my little run-in. Obviously, it's like, geez, $800 a day. And, they made that joke about it. It's like, it's only civil. Yeah, it's only civil as you lose your house, lose your mortgage, lose everything in the world. You have no possessions. Oh, but it's only civil.
Meaningless. I mean, the fact of the matter is this goes back to her when she was an employee at Fox. This is not even about CBS. CBS has been denounced by the Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, which is a member of AFTRA, but they merged. So it's SAG-AFTRA. They've been denounced for seizing her computers, seizing her files. This is a separate story because I think both sides want to destroy her now because she knows where a lot of bodies are buried. They're now going after the top investigative reporter for Fox and CBS. She's crossed into bipartisan worlds, which is what you're supposed to do. Sort of like James Rosen and James Risen, two different guys who both were, I think, both went to jail for not wanting to give up their sources to reporters. Similar story here. She refuses to give it up. And the more important story to me is the CBS story about them seizing her computers and notes and files, going after Biden with the whistleblower situation against Biden by the IRS whistleblowers.
But don't worry, they returned it now.
Whatever. I mean, after they wanted to see what she had in there, you know.
Yeah, it's
because they can't, like the PRISM program that Snowden famously revealed doesn't cover every single thing. Sometimes they have to physically get your computer, physically get your notes, physically get those yellow legal pads that are sitting on your desk. That's what this stuff is about. Because PRISM and the NSA cannot get every single thing because some of it might be handwritten.
Well, that's one of the reasons we had a lot of problems in Afghanistan. It's like, okay, go intercept this note that is ran on foot from cave to cave. Go find that note. Help me out. What are you going to do? It's like surveillance only works so far.
Yeah.
And by the way, countries get over dependent on it, and it backfires too quite often because they lose track of the intelligence. Okay, back to England. I showed you the one still woke thing. Here's the other one. Apparently in England now, saying the most qualified person should get the job is a microaggression.
Again, who could keep up with this bullshit? I mean, England is a couple of years, England and Canada, because they don't have, as the Laura Logan testimony in Johnson's committee yesterday, Senator Johnson, Ron Johnson, that is, had a hearing about 6 days ago. He had Malone up there. Laura Logan testified before them about censorship and journalism censorship. The bulk of her stuff was about the fact that these NGOs are actually brutal arms of the federal government, claiming to be looking to help democracy and fight microaggressions and fight disinformation. She said it's all a crock of shit. They are political assassins trying to get journalists at every single turn. I strongly recommend people see the 12-minute segment, 12.5-minute testimony by Laura Logan on Ron Johnson's subcommittee the other day in the Senate.
Yeah, definitely. Just a few more super chats. Kim Upperman, cheers for holding back the YouTube executioner for 18 minutes.
Look, we should just come out and have silence for 18 minutes and see if we can get away with it, and then start the show like 18 minutes in. Just let the tape roll.
Yeah, no kidding. Deuce Che, question: Batman or Robin?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Your preference? I don't know.
Batman or Robin?
I guess. I don't know
what that means. But thanks for the super chat. That's for sure.
For sure.
Much more important.
Michael DePaul, this is insane. Is not squatting, breaking, and entering. This
case
in New York.
Yeah.
The New York case is kind of a little bit more interesting.
Which one?
But the one in Queens that I brought up earlier. I can find this again. Hold on.
I didn't know what that was about, because we have 1 million cases here, and so does Atlanta.
No, I know. This is why I brought up, because we're literally the last 2 weeks we were talking about it.
Yeah.
This is a case in Queens. Now, this is a little different than the other cases, because this guy legitimately was there. He was actually paid as a caretaker of the house, and then the owner died and he just stayed.
Oh, that's a separate case. That's a separate
so
that's a little different. Out in Great Neck, Long Island, they had a squatting incident. They've now hired a security guard, which I don't know if you have that tape, but there's a security guard who is guarding the house with the squatters in it.
Yes, this is the one. The celebrity security guard.
So it says Queens, right?
It says Queens. Well, you know what though? The families in Queens. No, it says the Douglastown Queens home.
Douglastown Queens. Okay, that's an upscale neighborhood. Could be.
And they have this celebrity bodyguard, security guy.
Okay.
So I don't know they probably hired him to say the second that guy gets out of the house, jump in there.
Well,
And this bastard
different
has
ways to
rented.
skin the cat, but what Phil was trying to tell us was, and which I believe is, you have to pass legislation just to deal with this now, because you need specific legislation to deal with this.
I guess, or get rid of other legislation that allows them to slide on it, because you're breaking it, or it may not be breaking and entering, but you damn sure are trespassing. To me, a squatting is a trespass.
It depends how they got in there. I'll give you an example. A lot of these are Airbnb rentals. They legitimately paid for an Airbnb. Then some other cats come in there afterwards and don't leave. And it becomes very vague who the original Airbnb renter was, and blah, blah, blah. So how do you sort that out? You got to go to court. The court's backed up for 11 months. Good luck. Knock yourself out, Hunley.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just looking at, there's a timeline during that, just like when you rent an apartment.
Right, but who are you showing this timeline to? The cops aren't going to do anything. The cops show up and they go, we're dealing with violent crime, bro. This is a civil matter. Take it to court. That's what's happening in Fulton County. It's what's happening in LA County. Yeah, the cops aren't going to do it. They're looking at it as a civil matter.
It's getting ridiculous.
That's why with the Grobert home security sitting system, you get to rent one of my employees who literally, and I have multiple, do 8-hour shifts. So it's 3 employees of my company who will sit in your house during the time you are on vacation, or you're renting your house with a real estate agency. With my new firm, you will contract with us. It will take full responsibility. We're fully insured. And we will put basically a college student in there who's just going to sit there with a laptop and an 8-hour shift. And then we're going to switch them out for the next person for that shift. But your worries are over with the Grobert home security home sitting system.
Wow. I just saw this headline while I was looking at that story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that case? It was like literally just like last year. There's a couple, they just got married and the bride was killed in a.
Oh, this is upbeat. Go on.
I got to keep it going. Snap. Anyway, well, the woman who killed the bride's already getting out.
How many? First of all, there's a million of these just got married stories that killed or not killed, whatever. You could put that into a separate documentary of just got married, found out this happened, this happened, that happened. So there's a bunch of them where they're killed, fall off a cliff with a selfie.
Usually that's kind of tied in with their own relationship, though. This is freakish. Like they're married, they're going along, and they get rammed by a car. So the guy has nothing to do with it. They're completely innocent in every way. It's not like they just get married and say, you know what, I don't want to be married anymore. That's more common.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just saw that. I was like, I can't believe that. Nana of 3. To prosecute a former president by law should only be Congress and or the Supreme Court to avoid the circus and political deviance.
Well, I don't know how the Supreme Court would do it. I mean, as Barnes has pointed out, there's only one remedy, and that's impeachment.
Right. I think it's just adding another part to it. You're saying, okay, if you feel the president committed a crime, then they get impeached. Then they get impeached. Now that removes the office protection from them. Then you can look into, whatever the crime may or may not have been.
Okay. This is the Hunley system.
Well, if they're impeached and convicted, then they're no longer a president, right?
Then
that
would be double jeopardy again if you go after them again.
Well, I don't know.
Once they're out of office. In other words, this thing is essentially double jeopardy. What they're doing with Trump. I mean, there are 2 impeachments. He beat both of them. And they're saying, glad he's out. Let's go after him with the same rules as before.
Well, no, I agree with that. But I was saying that in terms of a crime, that you can't just say, boom, grab somebody or do whatever. You'd have to get the successful impeachment and conviction. He wasn't convicted. That's
right. He was acquitted.
Basil Beshkov in Atlanta, the doo-doo hit the Fani. Yeah,
it's really put them on the national map. I personally believe the judge will do absolutely nothing. And I didn't want to torture Phil with my opinion because it's just my opinion. I think the judge is going to keep it the way it is.
I think he's going to stall and not, he probably will do nothing, but
He will do nothing.
But his decision's not going to come out for a while.
Well, whatever his while is, I don't think anybody's got the gonads or the answers to removing her from the job.
Yeah, I don't think they really.
And I don't think he does. That's for sure. And that meaning the judge.
Oh, great! I saw there was a Rubble rant earlier. Oh, here we go. Bulgadari said, "Hi guys, Mark. I was sorry to read about the passing of Richard Lewis. Who don't you know?" That's a great question.
Well, whoever I do know seems to be dying, so you don't want to get on my list of who you do know because you're not long for this world. But I mean, he lived to 76. I mean, that being said, I mean, he had some health issues. At 76, a good run.
Yeah, it's definitely not the worst.
Yeah.
Krabby T. Girth question: what is the story with the plant from the White House? Jeff DeSantis?
This is wait. DeSantis is related to what story? I heard this the other day.
I'm not familiar with this.
Oh, this is the guy that the White House sent to Fulton County. I should have asked Phil about it. DeSantis was implanted, not related to DeSantis in Florida. Jeff DeSantis is part of that White House counsel, I believe, who is embedded in their case in Fulton County against Trump. That's the guy that they sent down there from the White House, from what I remember.
Huh.
But more is to be revealed on this story because it's just happening right now.
Truth Social Support 24 says message was removed by moderator. I don't have a moderator on Rumble.
We don't have a moderator, bro.
So I don't know. No, I'm just saying.
Put it up now. Put it up now, Truth. Go ahead. Put it up right now.
I don't know who it is, what it is, but there's no moderator. I don't even know.
It's a low budget operation. We don't have anything.
We have moderators on YouTube, but not on Rumble. So. Yeah. If anybody has their message removed on Rumble or whatever from the chat, I have no idea how that happened. That's very weird. Al Gonzalez, that's a bummer. Can't make Youngstown, but if Boca and May works out, I'll bring the ingredients and Mark can make egg creams for us all. Okay, but Al, I don't want to scare anybody off, but you need the pressurized seltzer. You need the long spoon. You need the Hershey's chocolate syrup. And you need the full milk. But the real key is the pressurized seltzer. I don't know how you're going to bring that unless you bring it can't just be poured out of a bottle. It's got to be pressurized, maybe with a squirter. If you got one of those CO2 tubes with the seltzer like that, I could do that. But it's got to be pressurized seltzer. Okay, so but it's not one of those things like there are claims that people actually order water from New York to make New York style pizza because supposedly the water is a factor, and that's why. No. But I'm saying there is seltzer you can use. I think it comes in a container, and you add a CO2 cartridge. Yeah, am I crazy? There is a thing, right? Yeah, there's a Soda Stream. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. That might work, but it's got to be hard, and it's got to be the good seltzer. I mean, from a soda fountain, something similar to that. Oh yeah, the Soda Stream. I can tell you right now, you can like over soda it, so you can make it. Right, that's what I mean. Super explosively. Okay, that's what I need. The explosive soda seltzer. Okay, well there we go. Soda Stream, Al. Make sure it's a Soda Stream. Got to bring Soda Stream, the Hershey's chocolate syrup, and the milk, and the long spoons, and those Coca-Cola glasses. That's really the key. That egg cream goes in that Coca-Cola shaped glass. That's like I don't know if you have that one. Similar to this? No. It's got a bulby top. It's not going to work. It's like a bulbous top. It says Coca-Cola on the side. It's a famous glass that they invented. Okay. You see it in most soda fountains. All right. Well, there you go, Al. You got the marching orders. Big Bill 767 with great show. Thank you. And Dustin putting his foot down. Demonetize this, YouTube. That's right. Look at them. Try to get to Russell. No way. No way. And last here we have Soul Doggy. I got off my fat ass for Dallas, and now I'm getting off my fat ass for Youngstown. Bought my tickets already. Can't wait. Way to go. All right. Why can't people do what he's doing or she's doing? I mean, what's so hard about that? I mean, it's not like we're asking you to go to Australia, for Christ's sakes. As Ohio goes, so goes the nation, my friends. You're talking about the Ohio primary. You're talking about we're going to have I think it's an election there.
It's an election there.
Two.
I'm saying primary because it's a presidential primary and the election. So we got that going on.
Yeah, and I'm sure. So what do you think it'll be, like Michigan or even worse?
In terms of the margin of victory?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a running
joke.
joke.
It's like the Black Knight in the Monty Python sketch. I mean, it's just a nick. I mean, she just keeps going on. And I said this months ago. I hope she keeps running because he keeps having these victorious celebrations of beating somebody by 80 million points. I mean, if nobody was running, there would be no celebration. There would be no press conference. There would be no coverage. He would be like an obscure candidate like RFK Jr. I keep taunting them on Twitter. How many delegates have you won?
Cornel West.
Or Cornel. Well, I don't care about Cornel West. I care about the million people that keep putting stuff on my Twitter feed from RFK Jr., who has 0 delegates, 0 primary victories, 0 amount of victories, and is living in Twitter obscurity at this point, RFK Jr.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's getting invited to podcasts anymore.
No, it's over. He's already done every single podcast except ours and Viva's for reasons that are.
Oh, and Tim Pool. I found out
Tim Pool, yeah.
He won't do Timcast IRL. I'm like,
right.
Really? Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, and then on that note, Biden's leading, or Trump is leading Biden.
This came out today too. Yeah.
7 swing states.
Well, I hope this is above the margin of fraud, as our friend Rich Barris likes to refer to it at the People's Pundit. If it's enough, because I made the analogy yesterday on Greg's radio show, Greg Bedell, that it's kind of like a prize fight. You have to knock out the champion. You can't win on points if you're a contender in a boxing match against the champ. You can't have the title taken away, in this case, the incumbency in a close race. I made the analogy of knocking out the champion to take that title belt. It's about the jewels in the belt, Mr. LaMotta, not the belt itself. You have to knock out the champion. You can't win on points. And I think that's, I'm trying to make an analogy to winning by a large margin to avoid the fraud out of Philadelphia and Detroit and Atlanta, these cities that are so corrupt, they're thrilling, where states have been reversed by simply waiting out in the LBJ tradition until the lights are out in the rest of the state and then going to work with your hammers and toggles in the urban center of that state. It has to be so big that it would take them a long time to assemble the votes to overturn the rest of the state. That being said, it could still happen very easily.
I also just want to be decisive, like a Reagan Mondale or even a Reagan Carter, to where it's like, we're done with your bullshit. Where it is such a
except they had 1-day elections back then. These are now 17-day elections. So
no, I agree. But we're going to wrap things up here and head over to the Locals Party. Oh,
that's a good party. I don't know what to wear. What are you going to wear?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to get some
America's Untold polo.
I'm going to get some party favors out of the drawer and bring them over with me when we go over there.
But anybody else who wants to check this out, check out the Locals After Party. You can go to unstructured.locals.com. This will be there for free. It's not behind a paywall or anything. We put up the show and the
anybody can come over there. What is that? It's not exclusive, right?
No, anybody is able to join. Now they can pay to support us, which we obviously appreciate.
You think we could use the money? I'll tell you that right now. If we get blocked anymore,
it's bad. It is really bad, folks. As you can see, we're not even 18 minutes in, and boom, just screwed right out the gate.
What about subscribing? What about that? Maybe that'll help us.
Here's
the bell of justice. Hold on. There it is, my friends. The bell of justice.
If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Please tell a friend. It really does help a lot. And on Tuesday, we have not done anything specifically on Rust for probably a year.
It's going to be all Rust all day long.
We're going to make up for it. It's going to be
a whole Rustorama. with Eric and I are going to act out certain scenes. Remember when we acted out the script, Eric?
We've done everything. We did so many.
No,
Rust
we've done
presentations.
so many. People are going, yeah, you don't know anything about Rust. I mean, I was on this chat the other day, and I'm going, oh, dear God, the LA Times cited us as a source for all things Rust 1.5 years ago.
Yep. It's
I mean, we were on this thing when I was 13 years old. That's how far back we go with Rust.
Yep. And Lawrence Sword, no, it does not cost to join us on Locals.
Sword, you just go over there. I know this is impossible. You just go over. It's free. I know it's difficult, Sword. Come on, chop, chop.
Now you can choose to pay us if you want.
If you want to get secret documents, you have to pay. We're not going to give you the secret documents, Sword.
But
I mean,
there's plenty there.
Even someone like Lawrence of Saudi Arabia would know that.
But there's plenty there, and it also allows you to hear about the show. So if you want to get a notification in your email, it goes out every Tuesday, Friday. That the show.
If you want to donate to the book fund, not that this was part of it, because this came from Richard himself. This is a private book that he gave me in 2008. Oh my God! Wow. But I recommend that book about Richard Lewis.
All right, everybody else. If we don't see you here on Locals, we will see you on Tuesday.
Okay, that's where it's going to be
for Rust.